So one of the things that I like to bring up to potential new clients is when they tell me that they think they have great water because they have a well. One of the things I like to reply back with is, well, the well is nothing more than just a hole in the ground that pulls water in. You really don't know where that water is coming from, and you have absolutely no control over what the future of that water may be. Yep. System was working great for a year over here with the Ordias, and all of a sudden I get a frantic phone call that everything is plugged up and that they had just done a filter change and it was plugged up again 24 hours later, which is very odd that a system would work for almost a year perfectly and then all of a sudden go haywire. I went out there immediately to check it out because it's obviously with a family of 7. It's an emergency if you don't have water, and did a filter change. The filter was horribly dirty. Changed it out, and we, in the course of trying to dig into what was going on, we determined that about a quarter to a half a mile away there was another house being built in this relatively new subdivision, and they had drilled their well. Well, the underground pathways that were feeding the Ordia's well had been contaminated with all of the construction going on with the well almost a half mile away. Which just was a really big awakening for myself as well as a lot of other folks that I've shared this story with. That the water that comes out of that well is absolutely not going to stay the same forever. You have no control of what is down there now, and you sure don't have any control of what's going to come out of there in a year. So the best advice that I could give for anybody that has a well is be proactive with the water health of your house as well as the health of your family. Get your water tested. Find a system that will work with your investment range as well as a lot of other factors. Water quality is the biggest one. And Advanced Water Systems of Central Virginia, Kinetico dealers will be more than happy to help you. We've got prices that range everywhere from the most economical all the way up to the best value.
So yeah, Paul, I remember that Sunday morning, I think it was, because we were trying to get the family ready. We kind of have this routine that we go through, getting them fed breakfast, getting them dressed, and going to church. And I remember thinking, what's going on here? The water's not coming out. And the first thing you said was go check the filter. Mm-hmm. And so I went down and checked the filter. And I remember it looked clean, but it was all this kind of grit and slime. Right, and you say, well, that's odd. Why should that happen? So we changed the filter, and then a day later, like you said, water stopped coming out again, and it was the same thing. It was just kind of just slimy, gritty debris that was clogging it up. And then that's when you had said, hey, what's been going on in your neighborhood, recently? And that's when we said, well, there was a house that was just built at the end of the street. They just drilled their well. I remember seeing the well drilling truck out there. And so we know that they just drilled their well, so they punched into the same aquifer most likely that we're tapped into. And I guess it was drilling mud, right? That was clogging up our filter. So I really appreciate you coming out, because this is something I know you invested your time and money to come out and help me troubleshoot this thing. It really wasn't even your fault. And I remember all we ended up having to do was just kind of flush it out.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying specifically, get a big garden hose. Don't use one of those little retractable hoses like we have, because that way we could get the maximum flow, and we just let that well dump for 24 hours. And then finally that had cleared all that out.
Yep.
So I really, really appreciate your help on that one.
You're quite welcome. That's what we do. We like to solve water problems. And once you become a client, you're part of the family.